The war was over. Humanity had won. After 10 long years of blood, fire, and space battles, the alien empire had finally fallen. The alien soldiers had strong weapons and advanced ships. But humans had something more powerful: heart, courage, and the will to never give up. Now inside the cold metal hall of the alien throne room, the human captain stood tall. His name was Captain John Carter. He was the hero of the final battle, the man who had led the final attack on the alien capital. Alien King sat on his tall throne, silent and proud. His eyes were sharp, glowing yellow. He didn't look broken. He didn't look like a loser. He looked like a man hiding something. "I will honor our peace deal," the king said at last, his deep voice echoing through the hall. "As agreed. I will give you a gift." John raised an eyebrow. "What kind of gift?" The king smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was a cruel one. He clapped his hands. 2 alien guards entered, holding a girl between them. She was tall, thin, and dressed in silver robes. Her eyes were strange deep purple, glowing a little, but full of fear. She did not walk on her own. She was dragged. She looked tired. Broken. The king stood up. "This is my daughter," he said. "Princess Alira." John blinked. "Your daughter?" "Yes," the king said. "She is useless to me. She was born weak. She cannot fight, cannot lead, and cannot speak properly. She's a shame to my blood. So human, I give her to you. Take her. She is now your responsibility." The guards pushed the girl forward. She stumbled, nearly fell, but caught herself. John looked at her. She was trembling. Her hands shook. She didn't look at him. She looked at the floor. The other humans in the room whispered. Some laughed quietly. "A broken princess," one of them said. "What a joke of a gift." John's face was calm, but inside he was angry. This wasn't a gift. It was an insult, a cruel joke. The alien king wanted to humiliate him. John could have refused. He could have walked away, but he didn't. He stepped forward, gently took the girl's hand and said, "Thank you, Your Highness. I accept your gift." The king looked surprised for just a moment. Then he laughed and sat down again. John led the girl Alira out of the throne room. She followed him without a word. That night, inside the human ship, John sat across from her in the small med room. A doctor had already checked her. She had no injuries, no illness. She was healthy. Just silent. He gave her food. She didn't touch it. "Do you understand me?" he asked softly. She didn't respond. He tried again. "Can you speak?" She looked at him for the first time. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark room. And then, she nodded. John leaned forward. "What did he do to you?" he asked. She opened her mouth slightly. No sound came. Then, with great effort, she whispered one word. "Liar." John frowned. "Who is a liar? Your father?" She nodded. Again, then she looked away. Her face was blank, but her eyes were full of something deep, pain, and maybe something else, fear. John stood up and sighed. "I don't know who you are, Alira," he said. "But I don't think you're broken. I've seen many kinds of strength, and sometimes it hides behind silence." He walked to the door. As he opened it, she said another word. Very soft. Almost too soft to hear. "John." He turned, surprised. She was looking at him now. Not with fear. With hope. That small word, his name, was the beginning of something powerful. A broken princess had spoken. Maybe for the first time in years, and somehow, deep inside, John knew. She was not broken. She was hiding. And the world had no idea what she was hiding from. A strange sound woke John in the middle of the night. It was soft, like a whisper, but sharp like a blade. He sat up quickly, reaching for the small blaster. Near his bed, the ship was quiet. Only the soft hum of the engine filled the air. Then he heard it again. A voice, low, cold, and not human. "They will come for me." John stood and walked down the metal hallway toward the medroom. The door was half open. Light spilled through the cracked dot inside. Alira stood by the window, looking at the stars. Her purple eyes glowed like distant planets. Her long silver hair flowed like a ghost in the dim light. "They will come," she whispered again. "They want to kill me before I remember." John froze. "Who?" he asked. She didn't turn. "The ones my father sent. Shadows, hunters, they follow me. They fear me." John stepped closer. "Why would they fear you?" She turned her head slightly. "Because I'm not weak." John stared at her. This girl, the one they called Broken now, stood tall and calm. There was no fear in her voice, just truth. He walked to the controls and locked the ship's security doors. "No one's getting through," he said. "Not while you're with me." She finally looked at him. "Why did you take me?" she asked. John didn't answer right away. He wasn't sure himself. Maybe because he hated the way the king had laughed. Maybe because he saw something in her eyes. Something quiet but strong. "Because you didn't deserve what he did," John said. Alira nodded slowly. "He broke me," she said. "Not my body, my mind." John sat down across from her. "You can speak clearly," he said. "Why did you pretend you couldn't?" "I didn't pretend," she said. "I forgot how." John looked confused. She explained, slowly. "They locked me away when I was a child. Sighed I was cursed. My voice was dangerous. I was not allowed to speak. I was punished every time I made a sound." John felt anger rise in his chest. What kind of father would do that to his own daughter? "I lived in silence for years," she sighed. "Until today. Until you." John leaned forward. "Your voice is not a curse," he said. "It's a part of you." She smiled. "Just a little." Then the ship shook. A sudden blast hit the outer wall. Lights blinked. The alarm screamed. John jumped up. "We're under attack." He ran to the cockpit. A small alien ship was chasing them. Fast, no warning. No message. Alira followed him. She didn't look surprised. "I told you," she said. "They are coming." John took the controls. "Hold on." The ship flew into a cloud field, dodging fire. Alira stood behind him, holding the edge of the wall, calm as stone. Second blast hit the engine room. John swore. "We're going down. Hold tight." The ship crash-landed on a rocky planet below. The landing was rough. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. But they were alive. Smoke filled the cabin. John coughed and looked at Alira. She was already moving, outside. Dark shapes moved between the rocks. Tall figures in black armor. Alien assassins. John raised his blaster. "Stay behind me." "No," she said softly. John turned. "What?" She walked forward, eyes glowing. "Run," she said. "You must not see this." Alira, but it was too late. She stepped outside the ship and faced the shadows. They surrounded her, weapons drawn, but she didn't move. Then she opened her mouth and screamed. Not a scream of pain, a scream of power. The sound was like thunder. The ground shook. Rocks exploded. The assassins flew back like leaves in the wind. Their armor cracked. Their weapons melted. Silence followed. John stared from the doorway, eyes wide. The ground was smoking. The shadows were gone. Alira stood alone, breathing hard. Her voice had done that. She turned to John. "Now you know," she said. John stepped forward slowly. "What are you?" She looked up at the sky, at the stars. "I don't know," she said. "But I think I'm starting to remember." Asterisk. The trees were still shaking. Even 10 minutes after the blast, the air was heavy. The sound from her voice still echoed in the rocks like a ghost refusing to leave. John stood in silence, trying to understand what he had just seen. Alira once silent, once afraid, had screamed, and the earth had obeyed. He had seen weapons. He had seen alien technology that could burn through walls. But this was something else. She had screamed, and the world broke. She sat now under a broken tree, her body weak, her breath shaking. Her skin was pale, her eyes dim. John knelt beside her. "Are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "It takes a lot." Lot of what?" "Energy, focus, control. I didn't learn it. It just happens when I'm scared." John looked around. "You destroyed 5 soldiers and cracked half a mountain. That wasn't fear. That was power." She looked down. "It's always been there, but I never knew how to use it. And no one ever taught me." John sat beside her. "Then we learn together." Alira looked at him with confusion. "Why do you help me?" He didn't answer for a second. Then he looked her in the eyes and said, "Because you're not a weapon. You're a person, and you deserve to know who you really are." She said nothing. But for the first time, she didn't look away. Later that night, while John built a small fire, Alira sat close by, her hands resting on her knees. She watched the flames, silent again. Then, without looking at him, she said, "They called it the voice of death." John raised an eyebrow. "Who did?" "The elders, my father. The priests in our empire. They said my voice was cursed by ancient spirits. They said it would destroy the world if not sealed." John stared into the fire. "And they locked you up for it?" She nodded. "They put me in a dark place. I couldn't speak or sing or laugh. If I made a sound, they hurt me." His fists tightened. "But now you're free." "No," she said softly. "Not yet. Not until I can control it." John threw another branch into the fire. "Then we start now." The next day, they began. John found a clear field between the trees. He marked a circle with stones. Alira stood in the center. She closed her eyes, focused. "Just hum," John said. "No power, no blast, just a sound." She opened her mouth, but nothing came. Her lips moved, but her voice was trapped. "It's okay," he said. "No one's watching. No one will hurt you." She tried again. This time, a soft note filled the air. It was shaky, small, like a bird's first song. The trees trembled lightly, but nothing broke. John smiled. "Good, that's it." Hours passed. Alira hummed, whispered, and finally, she spoke full words, each one controlled, clear, and calm. She could feel it. A sound inside her, like a river she had always feared to touch. Now with care, she dipped her hand in. By evening, she could sing a short melody. The forest didn't shake. The wind didn't rise. Controlled. She was learning. But peace never lasted long. That night, while John checked the scanners, the screen blinked red dot movement. Fast. Too fast for animals. He grabbed his rifle and ran outside. Alira was already standing, staring into the trees. "They're here again," she said. "How many?" She closed her eyes. 3, 1 above, 2 behind us. John raised the rifle. "You're sure?" She nodded. Then something fell from the trees. A blade missed John's head by inches. He fired twice. The shadow jumped back, hissing. A second. Attacker rushed from behind. Alira turned quickly and shouted. One sharp note. The sound hit like a hammer. The attacker flew into a tree and didn't get up. John shot the third one before he could escape. When it was over, John walked to the fallen bodies. He searched their pockets and pulled out a small device. He pressed it. A message played. "The girl must die before she remembers. The king commands it." John crushed the device in his hand. He looked at Alira. "What is it that they're so afraid you'll remember?" She looked at the stars, her voice quiet again. "I don't know," she whispered. "But it's waking up inside me, piece by piece." John nodded. "Then we find the rest of the pieces. No more running. No more hiding." She looked at him, eyes steady. "Teach me," she said. "Make me strong." He smiled. "You already are." But neither of them saw the dark ship above, watching from the clouds, and inside, something ancient had started to move. The wind whispered her name, not in words, but in feeling. In pressure. In memory. Alira sat alone on the cliff's edge, staring down at the broken world below. Sharp rocks, dry dust, and the fading marks of their crash landing. John was inside the ship, repairing what he could. But she could still hear. The quiet hum in her chest. That hadn't stopped since the last fight. It was her voice. Not the one she used to speak, but the one inside her. The old voice. The one her father feared. The same voice that now whispered to her, not in fear, but in invitation. Alira, it said. She stood suddenly. The sound was not real, and yet it felt more real than anything. She looked around. Number 1. Nothing, just wind. Then she saw it. A mark on the ground. Circular, carved into the rock itself. She walked toward it slowly. It glowed faintly when her foot touched the edge. Symbols. Alien letters. But somehow she understood them. She dropped to her knees and traced the center of the circle with her fingers. The stone felt warm. Behind her, John appeared. Found something? She didn't look at him. It's a memory, but not mine. John came closer. What do you mean? She stood. Someone left this here, for me, before I was born. John stared at the glowing rock. You sure? She nodded. My mother. John blinked. I thought your mother was gone. She is, Alira said quietly, but not her voice. Suddenly, the stone circle pulsed. A soft light spread, forming a shape, a projection. A woman with silver hair and glowing violet eyes stood in the air. Her voice was calm, soft, full of sadness. If you are hearing this, the woman said, then you have awakened, my daughter. You are not broken. You were never broken. You were made for something bigger. John watched in silence. My love, the voice continued, your father feared what you would become. So he silenced you. But your voice is not death, it is truth. You carry the song of the old core, a gift from the ancient bloodline. You are the last. The image flickered. They will hunt you, she warned. They will lie to you. But remember when the stars begin to fall, your voice must rise. The message ended. The stone turned dark again. Alira stood still, tears running down her cheeks. She knew. Alira whispered. She knew everything. John placed a hand on her shoulder. Your mother left you hope. No, Alira said. She left me a warning. That night, they packed the ship. It was time to leave the dead planet. John plotted a new course toward the ruins of an old alien research outpost. Once used by the Empire, now abandoned. Maybe Ali Ray had seen it in her dreams. The outpost held records, secrets, and maybe a weapon, not to destroy but to protect. But they weren't alone. From the dark corners of space, a ship followed them. Small, silent, fast. Inside it sat a man in red armor, a hunter, hired by the king himself. One goal, one name. Ali Ray. The hunter smiled as he listened to the old message recorded from the princess's scream. So, you've started to sing. His voice was like ice. She must not be allowed to reach the core. He prepared his weapons. Meanwhile, on the human ship, Alira stood at the glass window of the cockpit. Her reflection looked stronger, now less shadow, more fire. But inside, the fear still whispered. What if I lose control again? She asked John. Then I'll help you get it back, he said. And if I hurt someone? Then we learn from it. Together. She turned toward him. Why do you keep saying we? John smiled faintly. Because you're not alone. Suddenly, the radar beeped. Unmarked ship closing fast. John said that the hunter had arrived. Lasers flashed. Shields shook. John dodged the attacks, diving into an asteroid field. But the enemy followed like a shadow. Alira stood still, her heart beating hard. The voice inside her said only one thing now. Kalan Singh. She looked at John. Open the rear door. What? No, we'll get sucked. Trust me. He hesitated, then hit the switch. The back of the ship opened. Alira walked to the edge. Wind roared. Space screamed. She closed her eyes and began to sing. The song was slow, deep, not loud, but powerful. Invisible waves rolled from her mouth, wrapping around the enemy ship. Inside, the hunter screamed as his systems failed. His ship shook. His vision blurred. One final note from Alira, and the hunter's ship spun off into deep space. Powerless and blind, John closed the door. Alira collapsed into his arms. Exhausted. You did it, he said. But she shook her head. No, that was only one. There are more. And they're afraid of what I'm becoming. John helped her up. Then let them be afraid. Far away, in the alien king's throne room, a new message arrived. The hunter had failed. The king's hand trembled slightly. For the first time, not from anger, but from fear. Asterisk, she found the message hidden inside a dream. It started with music, soft, sad notes floating in darkness. Then, a voice, gentle, familiar, my little star. If you're hearing this, then he's lied to you. Alira's eyes opened fast. Her breath caught in her throat. The voice had felt too real. She sat up in the bunk, her heart racing. Outside the small sleeping quarters, John worked quietly at the ship's table, studying a map of old alien bases. He looked up as she walked in. You okay? He asked. Alira didn't answer. Her hands were shaking. I saw her again. My mother, in a dream? No, she whispered. In a memory. John leaned forward. What did she say? Alira stared at the floor. She said my father lied. John's jaw tightened. We always knew he wasn't honest. No, Alira said, lifting her eyes. It's more than that. He didn't just lock me away. He didn't just call me broken. He stole something from me. John stood. What? She paused. My birthright. The words hung heavy in the air. John looked at the glowing map. Then we need to find the truth. All of it. Alira nodded. I know where it is. She pointed to a mark on the screen, an old sealed alien lab deep inside a forgotten moon. No signal came from there. No movement. No life. John looked at her. That's where your mother worked, isn't it? Yes, she said. And that's where he killed her. They arrived 2 days later. The moon was gray and silent. The lab's doors were buried under stone. No one had entered in years. Dust, silence, and shadows waited inside. John pushed open the old gate. Metal screamed. Lights flickered. The air was cold. Alira stepped inside. And the lab came alive. Soft lights glowed along the walls. Machines turned on. A voice echoed through the chamber. Welcome, Alira. John raised his weapon. No, Alira said. It's just the system. They walked deeper into the lab. Screens lit up, showing old data, ancient voices, test records, DNA scans. Alira touched one screen. It showed a young woman, her mother singing to a small baby in a sealed room. The baby's cry shook the walls. Scientists stood outside, watching in fear. The file had a title, Project Core Voice, Forbidden's Bloodline. John read the words out loud. Your power. It's not a curse. It's a weapon, Alira whispered. A living one. No, John said. It was never meant to destroy. It's your gift. They reached the final chamber. Inside, a message played automatically. Her mother again. If you are seeing this, my star, then I am gone, and he has lied to you. The king told the world you were broken, cursed, but you were chosen. The core. Voice is ancient. You were born with it. Alira stepped closer. Your father feared your power, the recording continued. He feared what you would become. So he sealed your voice and killed anyone who tried to help. including me. John looked at Alira, unsure what to say. Her face was cold. Still, not crying. Just quiet. Her mother's final words echoed through the room. Don't become what he tried to destroy. Become more. The message ended. John reached out to her. Alira, but she turned, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. He called me shame. He gave me away as a joke, but now. She touched the wall. A hidden panel slid open, inside. It was something wrapped in silver metal, small, round, and warm. She picked it up. The lab system spoke again. Core key identified. Voice match complete. Unlocking ancient weapon. John stepped back. Wait, weapon? The floor shook. A wall slid open. Inside was not a gun. Not a bomb, but a strange chair. Floating. Covered in old alien symbols. Alira stepped toward it. John grabbed her hand. We don't know what it does. She looked at him. I do. It doesn't. Kill, it reveals. And before he could stop her, she sat down. The machine glowed. Lights swirled. Her eyes rolled back. A voice filled the chamber, not hers, but through her. The time has come. The blood of kings will kneel. The voice will rise. The message was clear now. Alira wasn't a mistake. She was the key to something far greater. But above them, across the stars, the alien king felt it too. The moment the core unlocked, he dropped his glass. He rushed to a secret room deep inside the palace. There, a frozen screen flickered. An old warning from his wife. From long ago. If you try to stop her, she will not destroy you, but everything you built will fall. The king stared at it, shaking. He pressed a button. Send all ships. Find her. Kill the human. Bring my daughter home. Or burn the galaxy trying. Asterisk. The king was no longer smiling. His throne room, once filled with fire and pride, now stood in silence. The guards around him watched nervously as his golden crown hung crooked on his head. His hand trembled slightly, just enough for the nearest advisor to notice. She had awakened, the girl he once mocked. The daughter he gave away like trash. Now. She held the core voice, and it had begun to speak. Across the empire, alarms sounded. Ships left black hangars like angry hornets, engines roaring as they tore through space. Find her. Find the human. Kill them both. The king's order echoed across star systems, but it was too late. Alira was already rising on the human ship. Alira stood in the center of the control room, no longer the quiet girl hiding in corners. Her eyes glowed softly, but with calm, not fear. Her voice no longer cracked. Her hands no longer shook. She had accepted what she was. Not a curse, not a secret, a storm in silence. John watched her carefully. He had seen the change. It hadn't come all at once. It had arrived slowly like dawn, until one day the darkness inside her had nowhere left to hide. How do you feel? He asked. She didn't blink. Ready? He nodded. Then it's time. The plan was dangerous. Maybe stupid. But it was the only way. Alira and John would return, not to Earth, not to safety, but to the heart of the Empire. The central world, the place where she had been locked away, and where she would now speak her truth. They weren't alone. Word of Alira's rise had already spread in whispers. Alien rebels, creatures once loyal to the king, now sent secret messages. We will stand with her. The Empire lied. Let the broken girl lead. And so they came. Old ships, rusty but fast. Fighters from forgotten planets, smugglers. Ex-soldiers, survivors. They didn't come for war. They came for a voice. And Alira gave them one, standing before the crowd of ships. Her image broadcasted to every corner of the fleet. She spoke. My father says I am broken. He says I am danger, and maybe he's right. She paused. I am danger, but not to the people, to him. Her voice shook the radios. It didn't break metal this time. It broke silence. You are not slaves. You are not weak. And I'm not his daughter anymore. The fleet roared in reply. The attack on the Empire's capital began 3 days later. The king's ships fought with rage. But they were not ready. They had trained to fight soldiers, not a girl with a voice that bent air. Not rebels fueled by truth. Not a human who would die for someone once called useless. John led the ground team. Alira moved through the battlefield like wind, quiet, sharp, unstoppable. Every time the king's men cornered her, she spoke one word, one note, and the ground cracked. Weapons shattered. Fear spread faster than bullets. Inside the palace, the king watched his empire collapse. He rushed to his escape ship, but the system failed. The core key was blocking all command signals. She's controlling my systems. He shouted. "No, Your Majesty," said his general. "She's not controlling them. She is them." The king fled to the throne room. One last place. One last chance. He grabbed the ancient sword passed down from emperors before him. "She will kneel," he whispered. "She must." But the doors opened, and she didn't kneel. She walked in, calm, quiet, glowing like a star made of breath and fire. Behind her, John stepped in, silent. The king raised the sword. Alira didn't move. She didn't speak. Not yet. King rushed forward, screaming. Alira closed her eyes. And whispered, not loud, not angry, just one soft sentence. "You were afraid of me, because you saw who I could become." The sword cracked in midair. The king fell to his knees, choking on silence. All power left his body, not by force, by truth. He looked up at her, eyes wide, hands shaking. For the first time in his life, he said something no one had ever heard from him. "I was wrong." And Alira answered with only 2 words. "I know." Outside, the people were watching. On screens, in ships, on rooftops. The soldiers of the Empire saw it too. The girl they were told to fear was not a destroyer, was their future, and she had just made the galaxy listen. Asterisk, asterisk. The galaxy held its breath. The war was over. But peace had not yet begun. In the cold silence of space, stars blinked slowly, as if watching, waiting. On the throne of a fallen empire, the alien king sat with broken pride. His crown lay at his feet, bent and cracked. His eyes, once burning with power, now stared at the floor. He didn't speak. He COULDN single quotes D. Because standing in front of him was the one he had tried to erase from history. Alira. No longer the trembling girl. No longer the gift of shame. She stood calm, her voice steady, her power now hers to control. Her presence was quiet, but heavy. Like gravity. John stood beside her, silent. He knew this moment belonged to her alone, outside the palace. The people waited. Aliens from across the stars, once enemies, now listeners, stood together. Rebels, soldiers, citizens, watching, hoping, unsure of what came next. And above them, in the dark beyond the sky, something stirred, a presence. Ancient, hidden. And waking. Alira turned her gaze to the throne. "Do you understand now?" she asked. "The king," he nodded slowly. "I feared what I couldn't control." "And so you caged it," she said. "You caged me." "I thought it would protect the galaxy," he whispered. "But I only protected myself." Alira walked past him and placed her hand on the throne. The core voice inside her pulsed. Warm, alive. She could feel everything. The pain of the broken planets, the silence of forgotten people, the echoes of battles long buried. Then the voice inside her spoke again. "The galaxy is ready, but something older is not." She closed her eyes and saw it. A hidden threat, sleeping beneath the ruins of the Empire's war machines. A machine race, built long ago, silent, cold, forgotten. But listening, the Empire had kept them buried under black codes and deep stone. Even the king had forgotten their full name, but they remembered. Alira. They feared her voice, because her voice could wake them or destroy them. John noticed the change in her face. "What is it?" "There's one more battle," she said. He sighed. "Of course there is." She turned to the king. "What's under the core chamber?" His eyes widened. You can't go there." "I have to." He shook his head. "It's not power down there. It's death." She stepped closer. "You sealed it with my voice, didn't you?" The king slowly nodded. "That's why you silenced me," she said. "I was trying to stop a war we couldn't win." He whispered, "You started another one." "Anyway," she said. They descended together, Alira, John, and a few loyal rebels, deep below the palace. Deeper than any map showed, beyond steel, beyond stone. And there, in the darkness, they found it. A black vault, taller than a ship, covered in ancient alien symbols, glowing faintly. It pulsed when she came near. Only her voice could open it. John stepped back. "Are you sure?" "No," she said. But she sang anyway, a single note. The vault hissed. Open. Inside was not an army. Not machines, but silence and a child. A small alien girl, glowing faintly. Sleeping, frozen in time. Alira stepped closer. "What is this?" A voice answered, not from the girl, but from the air itself. "She is the first. You are the last. The cycle must end here." The core voice had never belonged to Alira alone. It was a legacy, passed down. And now it needed peace. Alira turned to John. "I don't have to fight anymore." He smiled. "Good." She placed her hand over the frozen child's heart and whispered, not a scream, not a command, just a lullaby. The child opened. Her eyes, bright, innocent, alive. Peace. Real peace. Months later, the palace became something new. Not a throne, but a school, a sanctuary, a place where voices loud and soft were welcomed. Alira didn't rule. She led, taught, listened. The girl once called broken had given her voice to the galaxy. Not to control it, but to teach it how to listen. And somewhere deep in space, under the stars that had once watched in silence, new songs began to rise. Asterisk, asterisk.